one in some respects, though, didn't they? So you can probably draw a lot of that out of them either way. But
so
no, they were phenomenal.
There, and thanks for his kind words. That was great to hear. Paul O'Brien said, just finishing listening to this week's pod. Great show as always. Elliot Wrench.
Back again?
Yeah. He said, Tom and Mark, I love the quiz, great idea. I've now found someone on the same quiz level. Hashtag blankety blank. Checkbook and pen on its way.
Yes, there you go.
Maybe it's an idea to write down for our merchandise. That'll never happen.
Super League Pod checkbook and pen. So you can have my checkbook. It will be worth probably about the cost of the paper to you. So you're more than welcome with that. And I've got a biro here that you can have.
So Craig Sullivan got in touch by email as well, and that's superleaguepod@gmail.com. And he said, bit of a worrying stat from someone on Twitter. Rugby league has fallen behind sports such as weightlifting, angling, sailing and shooting in terms of participation. Rugby union has 199,000 active participants aged 16 and over, compared to only 44,900 in league.
That is a worrying stat. The thing I enjoyed about this, though, is that Craig also used the opportunity to comment this very comment through the Spreaker website. So when you stream our show through Spreaker, you've got the opportunity to comment on the episodes, and he put the comment in the Spreaker thing as well. So that was good of him to do that too.
Yeah, did you see this story doing the rounds last week? Did it make much of an impact on you?
Nope.
Great prep as ever. So I don't know what.
I'm not sure about the angling thing, because isn't angling the biggest participation sport in the country anyway? Is it not?
Well, it's pretty high up, I'd suppose. Weightlifting as well. Like the amount of people that go to the gym now, maybe would tick a box to say that they weightlift. But I don't know how the survey's done. Is it people who go to an actual official club, maybe like registered members of clubs? I didn't look into how the figures were generated. I just read the news stories on top of the figures, to be honest, because I'm not that worried about it.
No,
I think the amateur game at junior level is still
quite strong,
amply supported in the north of England, and there's good stories about participation growth down south always, isn't there, as well, that we constantly hear, from people like our friend Aaron at the Eagles.
We have it anecdotally, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think keeping people in the sport over that age maybe will help for Sport England funding and that side of things, and it's coming up with creative ways of doing it, and I think try and get touch rugby league out there much more as possible. But I don't know if these figures include touch or just involve the pure 13-a-side version of the game. So I really,
it does raise a lot of questions, doesn't it, before we can start slamming the participation levels. Right, that is your feedback and shout out taken care of for this week. Let's take a look now at news from around the world of rugby league. Okay, so let's take a look at this week's news then. We'll start at the Mendehoes Jungle, where Castleford Tigers have signed former Hull KR forward Kevin Laroyer on a one-year deal. The 27-year-old was a free agent after leaving Hull KR following their relegation from Super League last season. The France international has been immediately loaned to Championship side Bradford Bulls to gain match fitness. I'm absolutely delighted to sign for Castleford, Laroyer said as he was being shoved into a taxi to Odsall, I suppose.
Yeah, the interview was done at Odsall.
There you go. Staying at Castleford, though, prop Gadwin Springer has signed a 2-year contract extension. The 23-year-old France international, who will now stay at the club until the end of 2019, has made 31 appearances for the Tigers since joining from the Catalans in June 2015. Since I've come here, I've improved a lot, and I think Cass is now my second home, Springer said. Good sign, a good piece of business.
Third home, surely. Like French Guiana, then France, then Castleford. Or maybe he doesn't see French Guiana as home anymore.
It depends when he moved from French Guiana, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He might have never lived there. He might have just been born to parents who were French Guiana.
No, he was born there.
Oh, was he?
Because he's the first ever South American to ever play in Super League.
Arriba.
Yeah.
There you go. Catalans winger forward Yaha will be unavailable for several weeks after a knee injury. Yaha suffered knee ligament damage in the Catalan Dragons win over the Warrington Wolves in round 1, so wishes for a speedy recovery to forward Yaha. Salford Red Devils have announced that halfback Todd Carney has had his visa application approved. The Australian, who's 30, was signed in January on a 1-year contract after being released by the Catalan Dragons in October. He could make his debut as early as this weekend against the Leeds Rhinos. Head coach Ian Watson said that the signing provides a real competition for places at the Super League club. Todd is able to play in all positions along the spine of the team. I know how excited he is to come across and perform for the club, so let's hope that he delivers on what is undoubtedly some serious talent and executes regularly and keeps himself fit.
I think public nuisance will trump domestic abuse, and he'll end up being the starter,
as it should.
The starter in the 6th jersey.
Yeah, hopefully so.
The 6th position, because obviously squad numbers and that.
That's right. St Helens have this week confirmed a swap with Gold Coast Titans. Their forward Zeb Tyre will join St Helens, and Joe Greenwood will be heading in the opposite way to the Gold Coast. I know which way I prefer to be going. Former Catalan Dragon star Tyre has signed until the end of the 2019 season. Saints have allowed the second-row Greenwood to take up a contract in the NRL. 23-year-old has agreed a deal after originally joining Saints from Saddleworth Rangers in 2011. And we got some feedback on Twitter on this one.
Yeah, Wally Frogmore, St Helens fan, said, as top club getting a past it player and sending a young prospect to a club where careers die doesn't sound very fair. And Paul Ludo Lewis made a tenuous connection that he thinks Greenwood must have heard that he transferred him out of his dream team and thought there was nothing else for him here, so headed abroad. I think this is an interesting deal. I mean, Joe Greenwood, obviously they see him as someone they're going to be picking because they've sent a guy who was getting picked, a first team player, in the other direction. It's good squad management from a Gold Coast side of things, and St Helens get a player that can at least contribute this year, whilst it's a shame that someone as good as Joe Greenwood leaves their ranks.
And if Zeb Tyre can perform in a Saints jersey the way he performed predominantly when he was in a Catalan jersey, they've got a good player coming in there. It's just, obviously, there's an age gap there between what they've lost in a 23-year-old and what they're getting in Zeb Tyre. He's about 29, isn't he?
Somewhere I think he's older than that.
Neck of the woods, really.
He might be 32 or 33.
Blood and sand. Okay, well, still, let's hope he does well for Saints. Huddersfield hooker Adam O'Brien that felt weird saying. Huddersfield hooker Adam O'Brien has joined Halifax on a month's loan. It does indeed get weirder. The Halifax native recently signed a 3-year deal with the Giants after joining them following his spell at Bradford. Being a local lad, I bit at the chance, to be honest, said the 23-year-old. It's a massive buzz for me to play for my hometown side after so long at Bradford, and I'm proud to be a homegrown talent. Didn't really grow either, did they? I'm excited to play, and hopefully we'll have a great game this weekend. He did not look excited to be joining them from the publicity photographs.
But we all know that he's a level-headed chap who doesn't show his excitement too much. He
is one of the most stoic 23-year-olds I've ever come across.
Yeah.
Back row forward Liam Johnson has joined Sheffield Eagles on a month's loan. Bradford have confirmed the signing of former Wakefield hooker Scotty Moore. Moore joins the Bradford side on a 4-game trial basis and will be hoping to make his debut this weekend as the Bulls face Swinton Lions, which he indeed did and played quite well by all accounts. So we've got him for a short period of time, and then he's probably going to prison. So we'll still need a hooker in about 3 weeks. Bradford Bulls have also signed experienced utility fullback Lee Smith on a 2-year deal. The 30-year-old has played nearly 150 games for the Leeds Rhinos, with more recent stints at Leeds Centurions and Wakefield Trinity. I'm over the moon to join the club, and we can get them back to where they once were, he said. Hull Kingston Rovers have this week handed an opportunity to former England Academy international Brad Cleverling, who has joined the Robins on a 2-year deal with immediate effect. The 18-year-old loose forward came through the ranks at Skirlow Bulls before signing with Hull FC, but turned down the offer of a new contract from the Black and Whites last season to return to the amateur game. Hunslet RLFC have signed winger Ryan Ince from the Widnes Vikings on an initial 1-month loan. Ince is part of the Vikings full-time squad and is well known to Hunslet coach James Coyle, who had him on dual registration last year in the Championship as well. Toronto Wolfpack will make the trip to Halifax-based Conference Championship side Siddle in the third round of the Challenge Cup this year, Mark. The Canadian club's first ever fixture in the competition will see them make the 4.5-mile trip from their Brighouse base to take on Siddle. Elsewhere, Five Ties pit League One clubs together, while West's Warriors and Haydock will face off in the only all-amateur tie. So the third round draw in full sees West Hull or Flatto Heath taking on Whitehaven. Hemel Stags will face the London Scholars.
I think West Hull maybe got through that game.
Oh, possibly. Good for them.
I didn't check that result out this week.
We can have a look back in a bit. Friston Warriors will take on the Keighley Cougars. The Gloucestershire All Golds face the North Wales Crusaders. Newcastle Thunder host Workington Town, whilst Doncaster play host to the Mighton Warriors. Siddle, as we mentioned, will be taking on the Wolfpack. Barrow Raiders will play Rochdale Mayfield. York City Knights entertain the Cumbrians from Egremont Rangers. South Wales Ironmen face the Oxford side. Hunslet will take on the Coventry Bears. And West's Warriors will play Haydock.
Yeah, the Siddle against Toronto match will give the National League Conference, the National Conference League champions, the perfect opportunity to showcase the very best the amateur game has to offer on the BBC Red Button or website.
Yes,
on the BBC website.
It's wonderful that they're streaming
on Saturday, I think 1 o'clock.
There you go.
Maybe. Check your listings.
Check your local internet. Lee Breers, the legendary former Warrington Wolves player, has been appointed as the new head coach of England's academy. A former Welsh international, Breers replaces Huddersfield Giants head of youth Andy Kelly in the role, who held the position for 2 years. Breers will continue in his role as Warrington's assistant coach and head coach of the club's under-19s. So forging a career in coaching is Breersy. Good for him.
Yeah, good stuff. Hopefully he can pass on the wealth of knowledge he's got of not winning Super League titles.
I'm sure he does have more knowledge than that to pass on to people as well. He was a phenomenal player in his day, despite the lack of silverware.
Well, he won some Challenge Cups, so
He did.
He did have some silverware.
There you go. Okay, the NRL has cleared suspended star Kieran Foran to return to the playing field with New Zealand Warriors in round 3 of this year's competition. Foran has satisfied the NRL's integrity unit that he is a fit and proper person and will be available for Warriors coach Stephen Kearney against Canterbury come the third round. I've always said that my priority is ensuring Kieran's well-being and his football career is secondary, said NRL CEO Todd Greenberg. The expert advice we recently received indicates that Kieran's recovery has reached the point where he is physically and mentally fit to return to rugby league. Consequently, we have today registered his contract to play with the Warriors in 2017. However, we want to be doubly sure that Kieran is in the right state of mind and have therefore decided to defer his return to the NRL until round 3 so as further psychological assessment can be made. Kieran will only be allowed to play again in the NRL if that assessment is positive. Conditions will also be placed on his contract relating to integrity matters following the review of his gambling associations last year. Kieran Foran said that he was delighted that his contract had been registered. Naturally, I would love to return in round 1 because I love rugby league and I love being part of the Warriors squad, he said, but both the Warriors and the NRL have put my welfare first, so I'm just happy that my contract is registered and I now have a date for my return. And finally, England head coach Wayne Bennett says he was responsible for a breakdown in communication with Super League clubs after having to cancel a pre-season training camp in Dubai this January. Bennett and the RFL were forced to cancel the trip after several Super League coaches objected. The Australian said he had repaired some of the damage during a meeting with those coaches on Wednesday night. The guys were great and we are all moving on, he told the BBC Sport website. We had a good meeting last night. I'm pleased with how it went. I blame no one else but myself if there has been a breakdown in communication.
Yeah, he certainly seems to have gone on a relative charm offensive as far as Wayne Bennett's concerned.
That is tantamount to flowers and chocolates, that really, isn't it? From
with
Wayne
this
Bennett.
And some of the other snippets that have come out around the best players will be picked, and then talking up some of the players our competition has to offer, talking obviously very highly after their game about some of the Warrington players who are up for selection and that sort of stuff. So yeah, he's seeming to want to, I don't know, help the RFL out of a little bit of the PR hole that has been dug around.
I would suggest that if Wayne Bennett is getting you out of a PR hole. That PR hole was pretty deep. But let's not linger on that too long, and let's talk about Wayne Bennett's Broncos, amongst others, as we look back now at the World Club Series. 2 games from round 11 of Super League, loads of League One Cup stuff, and results from elsewhere in the world of Rugby League. Okay, so to last week's matches then, Mark. Let's start with the World Club Series.